Hey guys, welcome to another random plastic Russian video. Not so much random today. I'm at a Haval dealership, Chinese brand, but also Moscovich, and they service Hyundai, and this used to be a VW dealership. You can see just behind the Hyundai sign is a VW one just about there. So obviously once the Western cars pulled out, the hole that they left, which included their dealerships, was quickly filled. And I've got to say, owning a Haval or Havel, whichever you call it, I really like it. Really like it. And this is coming from a guy that has been a BMW Mercedes man nearly all my life. Worked for BMW, worked on BMW and Mercedes for 33 years. And I've got to say, these things really have surprised me. So, I've asked if I can film, and the dealer principal has been very kind and said, of course. So here we are. Is this what you're expecting? So we'll have a quick look round, and then I'll just focus in on one particular model. It's actually a car I'm thinking of buying. So here we have Moscovich. So this is obviously new Russian brand. Well, not a new Russian brand, but certainly new cars from this particular brand. Now, if you transfer this into pounds, you're looking at about £15,000 for this particular car. And you have to bear in mind that I would say cars in Russia are expensive compared to the UK. But £15,000, £17,500 for this one, that is a good price. But anyhow, we're not here for Moscovich today. I just thought I'd give you a little glimpse. Today, we're here for Haval. Lots of different models. This is an F7. The car I actually drive is the crossover version. I don't know what you'd call it, but the car we drive is an F7X. So very similar, to be fair. I think they've dropped the F7X now, so it's probably just an F7 now. So that looks more like a modern version of my one. My car's a 2021 car, but I've got to say, it's been absolutely brilliant. The ride is fantastic. The equipment level is staggering for what you would consider a cheap Chinese car. I don't think you can use that anymore. I really don't. I don't think you can write them off like that. And I'm comparing to BMW. Are they as built as well as a BMW? I've got to be honest and say no, but the gap's an awful lot closer. It isn't like it used to be. My gripe with my particular model is the steering wheel, and they've changed them now, which is nice. They're a nice steering wheel now, whereas my model, it's a plasticky thing. The trim's lovely, the seats are lovely, but the actual steering wheel itself is a bit plasticky. And it's the bit that connects you to the car, and it's always been a bit of a bugbear of mine. I've always thought, the one thing you should have spent a bit more money on. And I've said that in a few videos, and it's like they've watched my video and heard, because now they're all lovely leather clad, just like the trim. Now this is a basic model. This isn't the high-end model. So what do you think? Now, one particular model they don't have here at the moment is I would call it a Land Cruiser equivalent, which is, I think, the F8, or no, H8 or H7, I don't know. But it's a car that I really like. Like I say, it is the Land Cruiser equivalent, but the Chinese version. But in the absence of this, I really like this one, the Dargo. The spec on this is well, unbelievable. Really is, for the money. So price wise, you're looking at about 32,000, 33,000. Now again, I know by UK standards, you're probably thinking that's expensive. But here in Russia, that isn't. Cars are expensive here in Russia. So that's not an expensive car. To give you an idea, equivalent Land Cruiser here would probably be close to 90,000, £100,000, which is a lot of money in Russia. But anyhow, I'm digressing. So you've got a 7-speed gearbox, very similar to the Range Rover style, but it doesn't pop up. So it's just a rotary. You've got all-terrain settings as well, very similar to Range Rover. This has twin sunroofs. So you've got what we would call a sunroof and a moonroof. But yeah, twin glass sunroofs, front and rear. Rear one can be operated from the rear seats as well. And then you've got full equipment like heated and ventilated seats, cruise control, adaptive cruise control, lane departure, lane assist, hill descent. The spec is incredible. It really is for the money. Now, whilst cars are expensive here, they hold their money as well. So, cars in the UK, yes, you'll pay them, pay the money for it, and it'll be perhaps cheaper as a like-for-like brand, but it will drop like a stone once you've bought it. Whereas here, they hold their money really, really well, really well. So, for example, we bought our car 18 months ago, and it's probably worth very similar now to what we paid for it. They just, second-hand prices, they just stand up so well over here, which is amazing. Whereas in the UK, well, I had a particular BMW, and after 3 months, it had dropped about 30% in 3 months, which, that's quite a hit. But they don't here. And I don't think that's specific to Haval. That's just, I think, across the board. It's the way the market is here. Cars just hold up second-hand values really, really well. But what do you think of this? Do you like it? I do. Like I say, I love the level of equipment. And I like the fact that it's 4-wheel drive or 2-wheel drive. It's selectable on the gearbox. So, it's good off-road. And I can vouch for that. Ours we've taken in all sorts of places. And places where I've said to the wife, make sure you get phone signal here, because we'll be calling a friend to come and get us. Because I expected to be stuck, and it hasn't. It's gone through mud, it's gone down onto the beach on the deep sand, and it's handled it all. So I can only imagine that this particular version will be better. So I think this is a 2-litre. I'm not sure, maybe you can tell me. But it is 192 horsepower, whereas our car is 135, I think. So really, really, yeah, it's like when you walk into a car showroom anyway, you straight away want to be buying, don't you? You always look at something and go, oh, shiny. So it's a terrible place to come, really. But I really do like this. These 2 cars I've just shown you are exactly the same car, but just a different spec. So this one is without sunroof. It's without the sort of uplift that you would get, with certain things. 360 cameras, no. So there's one example. So that one there has cameras all round. So it's got cameras in the mirrors as well, as this one hasn't. That one over there has got twin sunroofs. This one hasn't. So there are some, some nicey differences. What I would call niceys. The nicey bits that you want, the little techie stuff, the little fiddly bits. But there's a difference in price. But I've got to say, it's looking like about 500,000. So 5 grand a difference? No, 500,000. Yeah, 5 grand a difference. 4 grand a difference, UK money. But I think you're getting a lot more for your money with that. I think if you're spending, 3.2 million, and this you're going to spend 3.4, 3.47, I'd rather spend the additional and have all the nice bits, wouldn't you? Don't know, let me know in the comments. What's your thoughts? Do you like Haval? I know in the UK they don't have this. Sorry, I was just getting in somebody's way. So I know we don't have a dealership network in the UK for Haval, but would you buy one? Or are you unsure? Or are you completely sure you'd never buy a Chinese car? They're all rubbish. And now perhaps you're looking at this going, that looks a bit better than I was expecting. Well, if you're in that camp, electric tailgate. I wasn't expecting that. So a big boot, obviously foldable away seats, and boot close. I definitely wasn't expecting that. Soft close. Well, that is a Chinese brand car. And like I say, we're driving one. And in 18 months, it hasn't missed a beat. It hasn't let us down. I've got to say, the ride is fantastic. And I do mean that. And like I say, I used to work for BMW. So I think I've got a good benchmark to actually comment from. Although I would argue that BMW's insistence on putting run flat tyres on their vehicles is carnage. Terrible idea. The amount of cars that came in and customers asked for the tyres to be changed. So that's a stupid move, but you know, these manufacturers do what they think is best. But like I say, I'm digressing a little bit. I've got a point of reference. You know, I worked for BMW. I've driven all sorts of BMWs and Mercedes. And yeah, you know, I used to write Chinese cars off. I, literally wouldn't even bother to look at them. And when I came here, I had the same attitude. When I came to Russia, I had exactly the same attitude then. Chinese car? No thanks. But we ended up with ours purely out of necessity, but I bought it completely on the proviso. I bought it without even driving it. I bought it purely because we were in a position where we needed a car. The car that we were supposed to be buying was a pile of junk. So we turned up at this dealership to buy this particular car and it was rubbish. And we were kind of stranded. We could have got a taxi home, but I said, well, let's look around. And we looked at lots of things, Nissan X-Trails and all sorts. Nothing was any good. And then finally, one of the salesmen said, oh, we've got this Haval. And I was like, what's that? And he said, oh, it's a Chinese car. I'm like, yeah, no thanks. And he said, well, just look at it. You've got nothing to lose. Yeah, fair enough. So we did. And I looked at it and I thought, well, it's going to drive like an absolute donkey. It's going to be horrible to drive, but it's cheap enough. You know, I was looking at 4 million for a car and this was just over 2. I thought, it's cheap enough. It will do to get us out of trouble. We'll buy it and then I'll look for another car whilst we've got it and then we'll get rid of it. And as I say, and as I keep saying, here I am 18 months later, still with it. And it really shocked me. You know, it took us probably 2.5 hours to get home from the dealership, and that was my first drive of the car. And by the time I'd driven it home, I was, well, shocked. And I still am shocked. I still am. So there we go. Haval, M6, Jolion, F7, Dargo, and the one that I really wanted to see, which is the H8, I think, or H7. But it literally is a Land Cruiser equivalent. It's a much bigger four-wheel drive, and certainly one I'm very keen on. But I'm also very keen on this. Because I think it's going to be half the price of the other one. and I believe they come with a 6-year warranty. So there you go. Would you buy one? Let me know in the comments. In the meantime, please like, share and subscribe. Sharing is so important to all of us YouTubers, content creators, don't know, whatever label you want to stick on us. All of us people that are producing videos out in Russia. Sharing is so important now, especially with the shadow banning and stuff that we're all suffering from. So please, 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 please share. And as I always say at this point, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.